Good evening, guys. It's KB5 MIQ Big Boy. Y'all comment in this video. Let me know how my audio sounds. I'm trying out a new set of mics, wireless mics. Little note to remember: don't mention in front of your cell phone or your wife that your mics might be bad, because you'll end up with a brand new set real quick. But anyway. Let me know how they sound. All right, come here, ham radio cat. Come here. Everybody didn't get to see you last time. Come here, hop up here. Little ham radio cat. And for my wife, Pam, and ham radio cat and myself, we want to wish all of y'all a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you have a good time with your families tomorrow. Everybody enjoy the holiday. Don't eat too much. And stay off the radio a little bit and visit with your family. Come here, cat. Yeah, there's a couple of subjects I'm going to talk about tonight. One, y'all, I may have mentioned a few videos back that I subscribed to QRZ for their logging service. If you work a lot of FT8, I highly recommend that. I think it was, I can't remember, $25, $30 a year. But you'll make a lot of contacts on FT8. I still log my single sideband contacts here on a paper log, also along with QRZ and Logbook of the World, but I don't make as many of those. But if you're sitting there doing FT8 and you really get into it, you'll make a half a dozen contacts real quick. And as soon as it pops up, okay, click OK, it logs it to QRZ and Logbook of the World. Grid Tracker takes care of that, and it's really worth it if you're really into FT8. And a lot of you guys that's been in FT8 a long time know that. Save you a lot of time and trouble on your logging, especially for using digital modes like FT8. Going to talk about a couple of subjects this evening. Basically, how to attract new hams and certain types of people that may be interested in this hobby. One thing I saw on a social media post, this guy posted that I'm studying, I'm not transmitting, I'm just monitoring, perfectly legal. Named a couple of radios he'd bought, and he'd bought some nice radios. He said, I'm studying to get my license, and he asked advice on whether to keep all the radios or sell some after he gets licensed. You know, he automatically knows he had to have a license, number one. Number two, many hams don't like it that anybody can buy ham radio transceivers. They're not controlled like other objects we buy in life. Anybody can buy them. And the very first comment this guy said, now he had very clearly stated in his post that I'm not transmitting, I'm just listening and trying to learn, and talks about his radios and antennas. And I am studying. First comment, you need to unplug the mic so you're not tempted to talk. That's kind of borderline sad ham in my book. You know, the guy had made it clear he was not talking. He was studying. He was asking for advice. And if that's the first piece of advice you give him, that's a good way to set somebody off from not wanting to get into this hobby. So, like it or not, anybody can buy ham radios. All right? And we have a pirate problem, I know. But a guy like that, I felt like was being honest and was asking for some advice. And he kind of got sad hammed a little bit. So be careful when somebody asks you that. Just casually mention, hey, I'm glad you're not trying to transmit, or something to that effect. But, you know, don't tell them to unplug the mic like they're too dumb to know they can't transmit when he's already said he's not. That's just little things like that kind of tick me off when I see things said to people trying to get into this hobby. All right, let's talk about maybe the types of people you can get interested into this hobby. Anybody should be able to be interested in it. You know, you don't think about that, but some people are just not going to talk on the radio. Those kind of people, if they're interested in electronics and computers, to me, that's when you ought to push more of the FT8 digital modes that you use a computer for. RIDI, FT4, Hell, JT65, all this stuff you can run with the WJITX program. Put that on them. They might find it interesting. I didn't think I would find FT8 that interesting, but I got it up running in the background right now. I kind of find it interesting. And if the bands are not propagating real well, I'll always kind of drift back to FT8. So something to think about. Kids. Now, when a kid gets in high school and gets that smartphone in their hand, they're, for all intents and purposes, they're pretty well done for at that point. They're hard to get them to think about it. But these two school clubs up here in Oklahoma that we've got going, they are having really good luck with middle school age kids, getting them interested and even getting some of them licensed. I know Cody's son and Jeff's grandson are middle school age. And both of them are interested. And Cody and Jeff, I hand it to them. They're not pushing the hobby on them. When they come in and show interest, they let them talk on the radio. They'll explain a little to it. Jeff's grandson likes CW. There's a CW app game they play on their phone. You can't overwhelm anybody, kids or anybody, with this. It's real easy to show, hey, let's look at this. Let's see if we can talk, do all this stuff. Let them ease into it. And you got a better chance of getting them into it and where they'll stay in the hobby. I know my two grand boys, I got them in here 3 years ago. They was middle school age. And did y'all see this? Yeah, I got them off of video games. Made an island contact on 10 meters. Worked one of the islands down in the Caribbean. And I turned around, what y'all think of that? We just talked to this guy, and I point on the map where he's at. And the oldest one said, well, Peppa, if you want me to like it, I'll like it. And the little one said, I don't like it, I want to go watch TV. So that was the end of that discussion on the ham radio with them two. Ease people into it. You don't want to be that overbearing old guy that everybody laughs, oh, he just talks on the radio, and if you ask him about it, he's going to really blow your mind with it. So just ease people, especially kids, into it. And I think we can get people into it and keep them into it that way. The technology side of it is what's going to take to attract people. Simply talking on the radio, especially if they tune down on the low bands and ever start listening to the bowel movement nets, they're not going to be interested in that. I'm not even interested in that. I still stay up usually 20 meters and above. I very rarely go down below 20 meters anymore. But that's just my personal preference. Here's another aspect of people to talk to about ham radio. Jeff and I talked about this the other day. He was giving me some ideas for some videos. And he said, Big Boy, why don't you see if you can find a prepper you can talk to or interview or talk to some of these prepper channels. I got to watching some of them on YouTube. And I'm not knocking being a prepper. People live out in the country are kind of minor preppers anyway. Even I consider myself a weather prepper. I've got extra water. I've got some freeze-dried food right hold back. But I'm not a full-up Armageddon prepper, don't plan to be. But I see a lot of preppers talking about, well, I've got this HF radio and an antenna, I put it in a Faraday bag, I'll have it when I need it. Well, that ain't the way to look at it. And maybe we could talk to some preppers and explain to them, hey, I understand you want communications if something happens. But you need to know how to operate it now. Let us help you get your license and get on the air and do some practice operating with your radio. Because when the zombies are coming down the street, that ain't the time to figure out if you know how to operate your radio or not. I thought about talking to some preppers, but I got to watch some prepper channels, and a lot of them immediately, once they get through talking about prepping, they talk about the doomsday and politics, things like that, and I'm not going to go there on this channel. I'm just not going to do that. But if a prepper wants to contact me in an email, ask questions, I'll be glad to answer any question they got about helping them get on the air. Because we've got to keep people interested in this hobby. Somebody else, another YouTuber this week said, I was watching him, said, we're not, nobody needs us anymore. You know, the federal government don't need us anymore. They got all kind of redundancies in Starlink and satellite. The government is the world's worst at not remembering their history lessons. But let's talk about these redundancies the government's got. All right. And I'll be the first to admit, I saw this. I retired from the Air Force Reserve in 2003. And I've mentioned before, in September before I retired in January, I was represented Civil Engineering Reserve Command, picking out radios for the future of civil engineering in the Air Force. And when I mentioned keeping HF radio and hardline field telephones, you thought I farted at the church social. That just didn't go over. And all they wanted to hear was streaming and satellites. All right. And I'll be the first to admit, if you got a satellite phone, it's probably works quicker, better. You can dial somebody direct and all of that. But here's something that I could not get them to think about even then, and it appears nobody's thinking about it now. Those only work if you have a satellite link. If for some reason you don't have satellite coverage, you've got a high-grade paperweight. They can't be used for nothing else that I'm aware of. Somebody feel free to tell me if they can be, but I don't think they can be used for anything else. So RF and a wire will always work. It may not work as good as they want to in real-time satellite live feed. It's going to be propagation dependent, which there are bands that are going to work every day. And it's going to take a little more knowledge to run that. So that's something that's never going to go away. I don't think. And I don't want ham radio to go away because people think technology is outpacing us. A lot of the technology they got today was tried out in ham radio. So don't think that ham radio's being out-teched, but we may be being out, I don't know what the right word is, out-eased through ease of use. Everybody knows how to use a dang cell phone. You hand them a SATCOM phone, give them the country code. All they got to do is push that in and talk. That's what they're looking for. It takes somebody that knows how to run a radio to set it up. And as by the same token, with these preppers thinking they're going to buy these radios and put them in a homemade Faraday bag and use them when they need to, and they don't even know if it works or not, that's not going to play out well. So think about people you can show the hobby. Be constructive as you can talking to people about the hobby. And try not to be overbearing with it. And try not to sad ham comment anybody about wanting to get into the hobby. Don't tell them they're not smart enough to do it. That's the dumbest statement I've heard in my life. I helped train a guy at Red River years ago how to grind crankshafts. And the previous guy that had tried to train him belittled this guy to the point he was scared to death of the machine. He kept telling me he wasn't smart enough to learn it. And one day, I taught him more in one day and then he'd ever learn from the other guy. And he told me that. He said, "Big boy, you've taught me more than that other guy ever taught me." And you can't belittle somebody or be arrogant trying to get somebody into this hobby. I may be rambling a little bit today. I was trying to think of something for a video tonight. And I've been reading a lot of this stuff on these Facebook pages I follow on ham radio and seeing questions like that answered. So, you got somebody that's interested and they've bought them a radio and they haven't got their license yet and they're not transmitting. Try to help them get licensed. Help them build a simple antenna. Help get them on the air. Don't automatically tell them, take that mic out of that before you talk on it. That ain't, if they know they got to study for a license, they're not going to do that anyway. see somebody interested, just pleasantly explain it to them. Don't tell them that, well, FT8's not real radio or anything like that. Just explain to them all the options and modes we have available that they might be interested in. Well, guys, I hope this makes sense. I want to see this hobby grow. I want to see you get licensed. I want to see you keep your ticket current. That's the main thing I've said all along. Even if you lose interest, if you want to do one thing to help the hobby, don't let your ticket lapse, because they base our numbers on active current licenses. And if your license is inactive, that's a detriment mark to us. Well, guys, I've hit 2,040 subscribers. NOTIX Melvin, I've got 2 boxes of stuff up here I've got to get pictures of and get sent over to the 2 school clubs. I got to get with them, try to deliver that stuff the next week or so with these school clubs. Melvin, thank you for your support of the school clubs and ham radio. Guys, remember Broken Circuit Ranch, Circle 6 mail drop, my door planner links are all going to be in the description of this video. MRG Labs, first slide you see after the video. MTC in Paris, they got their end of the year closeout going right now, and I think they're going to be closed from December 5th to January 5th. So if you're interested in anything, you better hit them pretty quick. Guys, again, wish everybody happy Thanksgiving from me and my wife and old ham radio cat. It's KB5 MIQ Big Boy 73.